Hey guys, this is a market update. In this video, I want to talk about the two different time horizons that I'm looking at right now for Bitcoin. One is short term, let's say 6 months for my trades. And then the other is 10 years plus for an investment time horizon, both of which I think are looking really good right now. So I'll explain why in this video. Look, yeah, we're at an all-time high, 116,000. Amazing. And the 200-week moving average just crossed above 50,000 for the first time. So we're at high prices, but can we go higher for the next 6 months, right? That's the question for short-term trades. I think so. Look at inflation, 1.74%. It's not hot, is it? If we look at PCE, that's 2.26%, which is apparently what the Fed focuses on, or they do focus on a bit more. They change all the time, right? But anyway, 2.26%. It's not hot. Yes, this can be revised for sure. Maybe it revises up a little bit, but it's trending down. It's trending lower. Look at rents as well, going through the floor, right? This is because of Trump's policy, right? You're deporting hundreds of thousands or millions of people. Then that will come into lower rents. Again, this can be revised, but if it's trending downwards, right? So one of the biggest components in PCE is actually shelter and rents as well. That is way lagging data. So that is going to continue to come down and deflate for months and months and months. So the Fed can cut, and they can cut 200 basis points. And along with the big, beautiful bill and all the investment that's going on and all the capex, I just think that that can lead to a strong market. And so within 6 months, do I think Bitcoin can go higher? Yes. And so I'm in my trades. This is short-term holder SOPA. So green is where short-term holders are in profits. Red is where they capitulate. We're at 1 right now, which has typically in this bull market been a decent entry, right? Can go a bit lower. You get kind of a flush out and then you move higher again. So look, if you're buying uptrends, you buy 1 or below on SOPA. This is check on chain. You can go and see this for free. This is BTC flows for the ETFs. We've had a little outflow, and then we're firming up towards the end of this week again. So, look, I just don't think we're done for this bull market. I think the market can price in a lot more into the future. And so, yeah, for my trades, they're still on because I think we can go higher. That can change, and of course, I'll update you. But for right now, I just see us going higher into the rest of the bull market. If you trade Bitcoin or crypto, if you don't have a Bybit account, go below, click that link, make a deposit on Bybit, and they'll give you a deposit bonus to trade with. Anything you deposit, all the way up to $30,000. Now coming to the 10-year view, which I think is looking better and better by the day. The current admin in the States, the Trump admin, is just amazing for digital assets, right? I mean, they're just making sure they proliferate through the system. They're democratizing access to alternative assets for 401k investors, which will allow more than 90 million American workers to invest in, I think, Bitcoin, crypto, private equity as well. That's great. Now, it's not going to come at once. It's not going to be like a flood of cash, but as long as $1 is invested in Bitcoin in a 401k in this administration, that means administrations in the future can't then roll it back. And that's good news. They're also making sure that Operation Choke Point can never happen again. That's very good. That was, a massive chokehold on the industry, literally, right? Because they were shutting down crypto banks and trying to shut down the whole industry. I mean, it's absolutely absurd, but a complete rollback. So very, very good. Now, 401ks, that's 12 trillion in capital that could potentially flow in. Even if 1% of that entered crypto, that would be 120 billion, which is 2x the flows that we've got into the ETFs so far. Look, it's great news. Even if it's 10 basis points, right? It's more. Now, there were questions when the ETFs launched. Like, I remember saying, look, buy Bitcoin when it was 20,000 because the ETFs are coming. And there were still questions there about whether the ETFs would actually be demanded, right? Like, who wants to buy this thing? But then they came, and then they're the best performing ETFs ever. So this is a desirable asset that everyone wants access to, and it's being open to new pools of capital. So the 10-year outlook, obviously very good on that. The more things change, the more they stay the same, right? Bitcoin is the digital perfection of a solution to the biggest problem humanity has ever had, which is the theft of all of your stuff, right? So for thousands of years, people have known that if you hold money in the government's currency, they'll steal all of your stuff. They'll clip the coins, they'll print paper, they'll debase you, they'll literally take all of your stuff away from you physically, right? That has happened in the past, that will happen in the future. Bitcoin is the digital perfection of the solution to that issue, which is the biggest issue in humanity, right? People say that Bitcoin doesn't have a use case. What are you talking about? It's the biggest use case, the prevention of the theft of everything you own, right? So let's go through this, because for thousands of years, people have searched for this store of value. So CAGR of gold versus USD over the last 54 years is 8.4% a year. So gold goes up versus the dollar at 8.4%. So we now know that the dollar debases itself by 8.5 or a little bit more per year, right? So what's the Fed going to do? This is a Fed note. They're not going to do it, right? But they're writing about this. They want to revalue the gold, right? Because they're broke. With public debt at high levels, high level to GDP, how can we pay for everything? Because there's no more currency to buy our debt. So how are we going to keep paying for everything? Well, the exchange rate, dollar to gold, used to cost $42 per troy ounce, right? They've printed so much paper that it's now $3,300 per troy ounce. Same gold, you've just debased the currency, right? So what they want to do now is revalue the gold, right? And then put that as an asset on their balance sheet so that they can use that to create money to buy the government bonds. That is a scam. That is an outright pump and dump Ponzi scheme scam. You've got in at 42, you printed paper, you're then going to revalue that gold at a higher price because you printed paper out of thin air, and now that just suddenly creates an asset on your balance sheet that you can use to buy more government bonds. That is a scam, right? And so get out of cash and bonds because you're going to get absolutely wrecked. All of the value that you create will be stolen away. And so it's 8.4% a year versus gold. We know we have to get out of cash and bonds. Now that we know the long-term debasement rate of dollars versus gold, we can do some calculations and how digital gold will perform over the next 10, 20 years. So I said to Grok, assume that the debasement rate of dollars is, let's say, 10%. But also assume that innovation should drive costs lower by 5% a year, right? Because many products should get cheaper. Many tech products, TVs, right? They get better and cheaper over time, but the price keeps going up because of inflation, right? Or debasement of the currency. So let's say that the hurdle rate is 15% a year. If you hold cash, how much are you losing, right? So the cumulative amount of inflation, right, after 10 years is 300%, which is 4 times, and the purchasing power lost is 75%. So if you hold cash, because prices should fall 5% a year, but they're actually going up 10, that means you're losing 15% a year if you hold cash, dollars. Much worse in other currencies. After a decade, 75% of everything you work for is sucked away from you in the bin. All of that work that you put in. So let's go over to Bitcoin and just say, we can't hold cash and we can't hold bonds because they're the same thing. Government bonds must pay less in interest than the actual rate of inflation. So maybe you're getting something back, but you're still losing. So you can't hold cash, you can't hold bonds. Gold has gone up 8.4% a year. So Bitcoin being desirable, being owned throughout the world, and being the best performing ETFs ever created, being anything that anyone can talk about, this thing's going to remain desirable, right? As gold has over thousands of years. Okay, so what's the rate at which this thing goes up? Well, let's work it out. This is the 200-week moving average, just crossed $50,000. What growth rate do you want to put on this thing? Well, it's not going to be less than 15% a year, is it? Because perfect money prices everything, right? So I don't care what the price of Bitcoin is going to be in 10 years. Right? It doesn't matter because that's not the choice. The choice is, do you want the government to steal everything that you own, or do you want them not to do that? That's it. That's the choice. It doesn't matter what the price is. It's going to price in debasement, whatever it may be. It might be 2% a year, might be 5% a year, might be 20% a year. Doesn't matter, right? It's going to price it in. And it is also, because it's perfect money, going to price in the abundance of goods and services as they are created, which is actually debasement of those, if you think about it, right? More products and services means cheaper products and services, right? Abundance. So 50,000 is the current 200-week moving average. Let's times that by 1.2. So 20% CAGR over the next decade. I think that's achievable. I think it goes more than that, but let's just do a low-end calculation. To the power of 10 years. So that would be a $300,000 200-week moving average. But the price of Bitcoin moves above the 200-week by 50, 105, 200. We're 300% above it right now. So what do you want to put on that, right? Let's say times that by 1.5. So we're 50% above the 200-week, $500,000 Bitcoin. But that's not, it doesn't matter, right? Because that's not the choice. The choice is you can't hold cash, you can't hold bonds. So your property for your family, stocks and Bitcoin, they will price in this debasement and they will price in the abundance that is created by the people and the companies that create it. And that's it. Bitcoin has a higher growth rate than gold. It's digital gold, it's better, right? And it has a higher growth rate than the S&P 500. It is the trade of our generation. So if you trade Bitcoin and crypto, check out the Bybit link below. You can get $30,000 deposit bonus there. I'll be updating a much more in-depth view of this chart and my short-term trades for the crypto course members. If you've got the course already, I'll update that in the next week. Those videos are free for you. If you haven't got the course yet, I'll link it below. You can check everything out there. I'm James, this is MoneyDG. Cheers for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.